Yeah, I think it's important to know that this is not a sales stage. You're actually kind of building trust in this situation, right? Email one should be like, welcome to the family, message, thank them for their purchase and tell them what to expect and maybe share your brand story. And the subject line, something like, welcome to my brand name. Here's what's next, for example. Then you roll right into something like an educational, I think is really important. Email two, how to get the most out of X, Y, and Z. If you're a coffee brand, it's brewing tips. If you're a skincare company, like how to apply that, or if you're apparel, how to style it, right? And I think the key is value here. You're helping them get results from their purchase or be able to talk about it to the next person that they're giving that product to. And it increases that satisfaction when it increases the likelihood that they'll probably buy again. Email number 3 in this series is like social proof. Join 50,000 happy customers. Here's what they think. I feel like reviews, UGC testimonials almost like reinforces like the good decision behavior. And I think that when you think about these couple of emails you're following up with people, these should be all sent over like, 3 to 5 to 7 days, not all at once.
That's why I don't do video. So
Yeah,
um,
webcam's fun. It's the future.
heck yeah.
All
Where should
right,
we
cool.
start? Let's see.
We are going to talk about post BFCM survival, basically turning one-time BFCM buyers into repeat customers.
Cool. All right, that sounds
Cool.
good.
All
Yeah,
right,
let's
let's
do
shoot
that.
this thing. You ready? In 3, 2, 1.
From the open to the click, they're the masters of the flow. Just watch your list grow and your leads turn to go. Did we retain you so far, or do we have to extend it? If you want results, you know you gotta send it. Yeah, you know you gotta send it. Yeah, you know you gotta send it. Yeah, you know you gotta send it.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Send It, where we discuss anything and everything retention marketing, specifically in email and SMS marketing. My name is Jimmy Kim, and I'm here with my co-host.
Chase Dimond.
All right, Chase. So BFCM at this point is wrapped up, and brands are celebrating hopefully record sales. Teams are exhausted, and everyone's ready to kind of coast into the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. And I think that's exactly when, unfortunately, they lose all the customers that just work so dang hard to acquire.
Those are big facts. You spend thousands and thousands, hundreds of $1,000s on ads, and you discount your products. You go work around the clock during BFCM, and then what? You go silent for 2 weeks after that.
It's wild, right? It's hard though. Brands treat BFCM like the finish line when, realistically speaking, it's kind of the starting line, right?
Yeah, but because here's the reality of things. Most e-commerce businesses don't become profitable until that second purchase, right? That's something I learned a long time ago. Your
Yeah.
CAC or your cost of customer acquisition is just too high. And with the BFCM discounts, you're usually eating up most of your margins or you're getting rid of discounted or overstock product. You really need that repeat purchase to make that money.
Yeah, and BFCM buyers are the hottest leads you'll probably ever have, right? They just gave you money, they know your brand, and that relationship is fresh.
Here, but I'll add to that. If you don't nurture them over the next 30, 60 days, they'll forget all about you and
Yeah.
become that one time buyer, which encompasses something like 70% of most brands online. So today, we're talking post BFCM survival, how to keep the momentum alive, how to turn those BFCM buyers into repeat buyers, and actually make profit from Q4. And I feel like this is an episode, if you haven't listened to, this is a good one for you to listen to. It's not too late to get started. So let's jump right into it. Chase, let's kick off with the obvious thing. Why? Why is BFCM buyers so much more important that you got to be thinking about this right now?
Yeah, BFCM buyers, I think, are unique for three kind of quick reasons. Number one is the recency, number two is the intent, and number three is the volume. So, in terms of the recency, they literally just bought from you. The relationship, as I mentioned before, is extremely fresh. And kind of behavioral psychology tells us that recent buyers are a lot more likely to buy again than someone who maybe purchased from you 6 or more months ago.
That makes sense. Momentum, right? Just like in sports, once you score, you're more likely to score once again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'd say the first 30 days after someone's first purchased is really the golden window, where if you can get that second purchase in that window, your chances of getting that third and the fourth, etc., goes up exponentially.
So, okay, hypothetically, a BFCM buyer who bought on like November 29th, you have until basically end of December to lock them in.
Yeah, that's right. And if you instead wait until January, you lose all of that momentum. They've already moved on. And kind of talking about like that second reason I alluded to earlier, is its intent. So these people didn't just browse, they actually pulled out their credit card and made a purchase from you. There's tons of other company running sales, but they chose to buy from you. And they're not just window shoppers, right? Like they're actual true buyers and they buy again, right? Hopefully. So even if they came in, let's call it on like a 30% off discount, they're proven they're willing to spend money with you, which makes them way more valuable than someone who's just on your email list but actually has never made a purchase.
Yeah, that
And then
makes
that third
sense.
reason is that volume, right? BFCM is your biggest acquisition event of the year. For most brands, maybe 30, 50% of their annual new customers come from Q4. And a decent chunk of those do come specifically from the BFCM weekend or the BFCM week at this point.
So let's do some math. If you acquired 5,000 new customers during BFCM, you can convert just like 20% of those to repeat buyers in the next 60 days. That's about 1,000 new repeat sales.
Exactly. And repeat customers tend to be worth about 3 to 5 times more over the lifetime than just a single one-time buyer.
Okay, so the math is simple. Focus on BFCM buyers in December and you'll set
Yep.
yourself up for a profitable Q1. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But let's talk about why that second purchase matters so much financially. Most brands, especially direct to consumer, don't even break even on that first purchase because of ads, cost of product, everything else that goes into it. So let's just say your customer acquisition cost during Black Friday was $50, right? Really simple. And you sold a $100 product at 30% off, which is about a $70 revenue. After
Okay.
product, the fulfillment, the shipping, all the other things that you do, you'll end up making like $20 in gross profit. So ultimately, you're probably about $30 in the hold right there.
Yeah, but look at this. Like if the customer buys again, hopefully at full price or near full price, let's just say $100, right? Let's just pretend there's no discount in this instance. Your gross profit might be now $50. So now you take that minus 30, you add plus 50, and you'd be up, positive $20 overall.
Okay. And then the third purchase would just be pure profit because you've covered all the acquisition costs and you're just adding incremental revenue ultimately, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So I think the entire game can be summed up with this question. How do we get BFCM buyers to purchase 2 to 3 times more in the next 90 days?
That's a good question. All right. Well, let's talk about this a little bit more. We know BFCM buyers are valuable, but what do we think that brands do wrong
I
mostly?
think, yeah, I think the easiest way to describe this is with a single word: silence. Essentially they go dark and, completely dark, right? They send maybe a confirmation email, maybe a shipping notification, and then it's crickets, dude, for like weeks on end.
Why do you think that happens?
Yeah, I think a few reasons. And again, logically they make sense, but hopefully you do the opposite of what most people do. But for one, the team is exhausted and rightfully so. They just survived BFCM and they not only want a break, but they probably do physically and mentally need a break.
Fair, fair, but that's a business decision that costs money ultimately.
Yeah, that's correct. I think the second one would be, hey, we just emailed them a ton during BFCM. Let's just let them breathe and get some space for a little bit.
I don't agree with that because, well, I agree with you, but I don't agree with them because it sounds considerate, but it's actually the opposite. You've conditioned to hear from you like daily at this point, and then you just suddenly disappear at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're ghosting them, right?
Yeah.
And then number three would be their focus on acquisition for the rest of December.
Mm.
They're still running ads, still trying to hit revenue goals, and they completely ignore the customers they just converted.
Yeah. People love to chase the new shiny customer instead of working on what they have.
Hey there, it's Chase, and I hope you're enjoying the pod so far. I want to quickly talk to you about one of our sponsors. And yes, sales tax. I know no one wants to hear this. However, if you are selling online, you're probably spending way too much time, money, and stress on something that needs to be automated. Enter Kintsugi. They're named after the Japanese art of turning broke pottery into something beautiful and resilient. And that's exactly what they do for your tax chaos. Their AI monitors, files, and optimizes your sales tax automatically across all states and jurisdictions. We're talking about saving you some serious time. Their average customer saves 9 hours every single month. That's over 100 hours a year that you're going to get back to focus on actually growing your business. And here's where it gets really good. No longer will you have to have expensive tax professionals that eat into your profits. Kintsugi's AI handles compliance with a 98.3% reduction in errors. That's practically bulletproof accuracy. And they have many one-click integrations with your existing systems. That means the setup is painless, and their white glove support team has your back every step of the way. Sales tax headaches? Consider them eliminated forever. And it's for e-commerce, SaaS, and even agencies. Really, anyone that pays a sales tax needs this, and they need Kamsugi. And we have a very, very special offer for you. So if you mention myself and Jimmy, you'll get 3 months completely free. That's 3 months of automated tax filing.
So Chase, what actually happens when you go silent post BFCM? What do you think actually happens?
I think quite simply, your customers forget about you. It's like that simple. There's nothing to remind them that you still exist.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. They go back to their normal lives. Other brands fill their inbox, and within 2 to 3 weeks, they're just a brand I bought during Black Friday. That's probably how people think about a lot of brands.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And I think when you finally do email them again in, let's call it January, they're like, "Wait, who is this?" Oh yeah, I bought from them once. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
no
maybe what comes back.
relationship, no loyalty, just one-time transaction ultimately, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And I'd say the kicker here is your competitors who do follow up are going to steal those customers.
That makes sense because if I bought skincare product during BFCM and then another skincare company is emailing me helpful tips and product recommendations in December, who am I going to buy from next?
Not you, not the brand that went silent.
Yeah. So okay, what do you think, Chase, is the ideal follow-up window?
So I think like you should probably be emailing your BFCM buyers probably within about 24 to 48 hours of actually them receiving it. So of the delivery of the product, not when they purchase, but actually when it arrives.
Because that's when the experience is real, right? They're unboxing,
Yes.
using the product, and they're forming opinions about your product.
Exactly. And I know we talked about like that first month being important, but that first week in particular is especially critical. So if you can get them engaged in that first, 7 days post purchase, your repeat purchase rate, will likely go way up.
Yeah, and look, brands win at the brands ultimately that win are the ones that have a great post PFCM strategy ready to go before BFCM starts. However, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you can't get started right now if you haven't gotten started. So let's get tactical here, Chase, because I want to convert a BFCM buyer into a repeat customer. I think that there's about 4 stages. Well, you told me about this, but
Yeah.
it goes something like this, right? I think that it's like onboarding, education, bounce back offer, and then like a long-term nurture. So let's break this thing down. Okay. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. So stage one is onboarding, right? And this is like the first week the customer receives their product.
Yeah, that's correct. You nailed it. And the goal with this first step is to really make them feel welcomed and set the expectations for the relationship and what's to come.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that this is not a sales stage. You're actually kind of building trust in this situation, right? Email one should be like,
Yes.
welcome to the family, message, thank them for their purchase and tell them what to expect and maybe share your brand story. And the subject line is something like, welcome to my brand name. Here's what's next, for example. Then you roll right into something like an educational, I think is really important. Email two, how to get the most out of X, Y, and Z. If you're a coffee brand, it's brewing tips. If you're a skincare company, like how to apply that, or if you're apparel, how to style it, right?
Yes.
And I think the key is value here. You're helping them get results from their purchase or be able to talk about it to the next person that they're giving that product to. And it increases that satisfaction when it increases the likelihood that they'll probably buy again. And then I think email number 3 in this series is like social proof. Join 50,000 happy customers. Here's what they think.
Yeah.
I feel like reviews, UGC and testimonials almost like reinforces like the good decision behavior. And I think that when you think about these couple of emails you're following up with people, these should be all sent over like, 3 to 5, 5 to 7 days, not all at once, right? So that's kind of the first step of the path. And the second is the education. Now, they've had this product for a week or two and they're using it. What and how do you think about education, Chase?
Yeah, I'd say the goal here is to deepen the engagement and position yourself as an authority. So, sending content that educates them on the category, not just your product. Say, for example, you're a fitness brand. You should send things as simple as like a workout tip, right? If you're a skincare brand, send routines and kind of ingredient education. If you're a brand, send recipes. I know that's probably an oversimplification, but it tends to be that easy. And this is going to allow you to really stay top of mind without being kind of pushy or salesy. Again, The goal here is you're building a relationship and they'll start to see you as more than just a store. You end up becoming a resource for them.
I like the resource thing. How often do you think you should email during this stage or at this point?
I'd say 1 to 2 times per week is probably sufficient. It gives you enough to kind of stay present, but not too many where you begin to kind of like overwhelm.
Sorry, live pod chase dogs. Hopefully you can't hear them at this point. So, all right. So you just said basically 1 to 2 times a week. Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's go to stage 3 now. Stage 3 is like the bounce back offer. This is where you ask for that second purchase, and timing matters. You want to make this offer, and they've experienced the product while momentum is still high. Usually 2 to 4 weeks post purchase is the sweet spot here.
Yeah, and with that, the offer needs to be strategic. You can't just say, buy more of our stuff.
Right. No, you need to frame it like complete a set and you cross sell complementary products where you're like, restock now if it's consumable, because 30 days later, a lot of consumables may have been eaten by now, or treat yourself to a post holiday self gifting angle, something like that. And ultimately, here's the key. Don't go full price immediately because they just bought at BFCM on discount. You should be immediately asking them to pay full price. There's kind of going to be sticker shock there.
Yeah, that's right. So what do you suggest people do?
I call this like the bridge discount, not as deep as BFCM, but not full price either, like 15% off or so. And frame it as because you're part of the family, there's a special offer for you. It's an easy way to kind of talk about it.
Yeah, so the goal, right, is to make it feel more personal, not like a generic mass sale again.
Yep, that's it. Hey, it's Jimmy. Quick 15 seconds of your time because I have something fun to share. Did you know between the two of us, Chase and I, we have over 20 years of experience in email marketing? Recently, we put our minds together to create a certification program that takes all of our knowledge and share it to the world. It's called Ecom Email Certified. It's an end-to-end course certification program that's designed to take anyone, regardless if you're a newbie or an experienced marketer, founder, executive, agency marketer, or any marketing professional, to teach them everything we know about email marketing SMS, from deliverability to AI to copywriting to design to strategy. We cover it all. It's loaded with 175 modules and 25 hours of education combined with quizzes, community, all designed to educate, test, certify you to become a full-fledged email marketer for e-commerce. And so, since you're listening to this pod, we want to reward you with loyalty by giving you a coupon for $200 off this certification. Just jump over to ecomemailcertified.com, check the show notes, and now back to your pod. Okay,
Cool.
stage 4. Let's keep going, all right? Because stage 4 is where I think a lot of people really fumble the bag right here. So it's long-term nurture. They're now in your ecosystem. Thoughts?
Yeah, and I think like once they're in the ecosystem, the goal becomes like, how do you keep them engaged? So you have to keep them engaged until they're ready to buy again. So I'd say like this is where you fold them into kind of like a regular email cadence. They get your campaigns, which includes things like new product drops, your kind of educational content, etc. But you should probably tag them as like a BFCM 2025
I
buyer
like that.
or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. That way you can segment them for kind of special offers or messaging later that's specific to it. And if you're watching their behavior, if they open emails frequently, they're warm. If they go cold, you should probably start triggering something like a win back type email campaign, email flow. And the key here is don't treat them like everyone else. They're recent buyers. They deserve more VIP kind of esque type treatment.
No, I love the tagging the BFCM buyer, even if you're using just a time bubble or whatever it might be. That's a great way to kind of think about the buyer side of things. All right. All right. So let's get a little specific on campaigns that we can send. Like, what if someone is listening to this pod right now, Chase, and they have no idea what to do right now? What are we thinking here? What kind of campaigns can people do?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of like making this hopefully like plug and play and ones that you could build today, campaign one could be something like, hey, welcome to the family. The goal here is to send this maybe 1 to 2 days after the product is delivered. It could be like a subject line. I'm kind of just spitballing here, but welcome to, and then insert brand name, you're officially family, something like that. And then maybe the body copy for this could be something that's like focused on warm and personal, where you thank them, you share your brand story, you set expectations, right? I think most people probably get that. And here, just include like a soft call to action. Follow us on Instagram, join our community. Don't make like a purchase ask here. This email's main goal and job should be just to make them feel good about their decision and reduce buyer's remorse.
Okay, perfect. That's a good one, right? That's how you should start. And then for me, campaign two, to just kind of follow that up, is going to be product education, right? I think that product education is really important and not enough people do it. And you've got to send it 3 to 5 days post delivery. So the subject line could be like, how to get the best results from your product, right? Including like tips and tricks and tutorials and videos and audio, whatever you have to make it actionable. If you're a supplement brand, when to take it, what to pair it with, what to expect on a timeline. If you're like an apparel brand, like styling ideas or care instructions or how to wear it multiple ways. Look, you got to get a little creative here, but the goal is to ultimately increase product satisfaction while increasing repurchase likelihood. What do you think? Is that one
Yeah,
good?
I like that. And then
All
I'd say
right,
like
let's
a
go to
third one.
campaign three. What's another one we can go for?
Yeah, for campaign three, it could be something like complete the set, right? So this would be kind of more of the first sales focused typed email. I would say sending it maybe 10 to 14 days post purchase should be solid. Subject line could be something like, hey, you've got whatever product A is. Here's what goes with it perfectly, or here's what to pair with it type thing. Then you can recommend like two or three kind of complementary products using recommendations based off what they bought, of course. And if they bought, for example, like say like a facial cleanser, maybe show them a toner or a moisturizer. I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife later if that made any sense. But if they bought running shoes, right, that's what makes more sense to me. Show them socks, maybe a water bottle, etc. And then include like a small incentive, maybe like complete your routine. Here's 10, 15% off when you shop today. So again, this is that bridge offer that you kind of talked about before. Not the full price, but not BFCM steep kind of discounting either.
Okay. That's a good campaign. All right, I got campaign number 4 for you. Something you can think about too. All right. So I like the treat yourself campaign. I really, we talk about this Q5 thing, but I'm going to repeat a little bit of what we talked about on that other pod. So if you really want to listen to Q5, we have a whole pod on that. But this is that week, right? That Christmas to New York, the Q5 window we've talked about. It's you survived the holidays. Treat yourself, right? Frame self-giving, man. Like people need to treat themselves. They spent all month buying for others. It was holidays. It was exhausting. And the reality is that people saw things that they liked, especially and hopefully on your store. So now is their turn. So you promote your best sellers, your new arrivals. This isn't about discounts. It's almost like a permission to buy because you're offering it. And again, small incentives doesn't hurt. You deserve it. 10%, 15% off site-wide this week. I think that's a good one. You got another one for me, Chase?
Yeah, I like that. I'd say like the fifth one that you could probably do. And again, I know this can be a little bit cheesy, but it does work as the whole new year, new you. This is geared obviously for like early Jan, where everyone's in like goal setting mode. Subject line could be something like start 2026 strong, build your wellness, style, fitness, insert whatever is relevant type routine. You can bundle products into a routine or even like a starter kit and position as helping them to achieve their goals. So, like say for example, like a skincare brand. Here's like the 3-step routine for glowing skin in 2026. If you're a fitness company, it could be something like here's your complete home workout kit. And this works because people are motivated and they're spending money in January. It just makes it like a really kind of opportunistic, kind of prime buying window.
Yeah, new year, new me. I think that's always a hook. It happens every year, but it works every year, so people continue to do it. And what's funny is that brands that are like supplement brands and like fitness brands, right? This is like their BFCM starts actually in like January, basically, when everybody's starting to get into it. All right, last segment I want to kind of jump into. What metrics do you think people should be tracking for post BFCM strategy? Like we're tagging them, we're going to look at them.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you think about?
I'd say there's kind of 5 metrics. So I'll start with the first and we'll kind of run
Okay.
through them.
Okay.
The first would be like the repeat purchase rate. What percentage of your BFCM buyers
Mm,
purchased again within 30, 60, or 90 days? That's the first thing I'm thinking about.
okay. What's good there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say like from all the data I've seen, the industry average tends to be about 20-ish to 30-ish% within a 90-day window. And I'd say like the better brands, kind of brands that are performing well, typically are somewhere around like the 35 to 40-ish%.
Okay, so if you acquired like 1,000 BFCM buyers, 300 of them might buy again in 90 days, and you're doing really well then, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
300 plus would be great.
Okay.
So I'd say the second one here would be kind of like the time to that second purchase. So
Mm.
how long does it take for the BFCM buyer to buy again?
I love this one. Why does it matter, Chase?
Yeah, because the faster that they buy again, the higher their lifetime value. Someone who buys again in 20 days is more valuable than someone who takes, let's say, 80 days for that same purchase.
Yeah, that's an underrated one. So tracking the average number between your first and second purchase, and then you try to shrink that
Yes.
number ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And then moving on to the third, the next one would be like maybe like the flow conversion rate, right? How well are the post-purchase flows that you have set up? How well are these converting?
So you're talking about like the "You're Welcome to Your Family" series, your cross sells. What's your conversion rate ultimately, right? What's the rate that
That's
you should be
right.
looking for?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'd say if it's sub like 5%, something's probably broken. I'd say
Mm,
good flows here, again, it kind of varies, but they typically convert at like 8 to 15-ish% for recent buyers. And then while I'm still here, I'd say the next one would be kind of like the customer lifetime value uplift. Are your BFCM buyers worth more over time than your non-BFCM buyers?
okay,
And
and this
then
tells you, if your customer acquisition was good or profitable or not. Because if your BFCM cohort has a lower LTV than your regular customer, you're actually attracting deal hunters who won't stick around, right?
yeah, exactly right. But if BFCM buyers, however, have an equal or higher lifetime value, that means your strategy is working. And then the
Mm.
fifth one, I think this is the final one I was going to mention, would be like the revenue per subscriber, specifically for that BFCM segment. So, track how much revenue that segment generates per person over, let's call it 90 days. This will tell you kind of the ROI on the post BFCM email strategy that we've been talking about kind of at length today. If you're generating, $50 or more per BFCM buyer in email revenue over 90 days, you're doing fairly well.
Okay, I like that one. That definitely is something I doubt people are thinking about very often. I think that that's a great way to look at their LTV and really just dive into what's going on there.
Hey there, it's Chase here. I hope you're enjoying the pod, but I want to get just 30 seconds of your time real quick to tell you about one of our sponsors who let us make this great podcast. So first, I want to start with a question for you. Do you ever find yourself staring at a blank page, waiting for inspiration to strike? Your marketing campaigns don't have to suffer when your creativity runs dry. Omnisend has recently launched their most powerful AI update yet, and it is awesome. Its AI completely transforms how you can create and send your next marketing messages. And here's really what's incredible. Their AI doesn't just write your emails, but it actually helps you write really compelling subject lines, pre-header text that are geared to increase your open rates, and ultimately build customer segments in a heartbeat. And just whisper to the AI who you're targeting, and it's going to figure out all the complex segmentation for you. So that way you have no more guessing games. But hey, wait, it gets better. Their AI writer actually now proactively suggests improvements to your copy, and it's going to adapt to your brand's unique voice and tone while following email marketing best practices. And their personalized product reminders analyzes your browsing behavior to serve up exactly what each of your customer wants and needs to see. And their campaign booster automatically resends emails to people who didn't open or engage with them, which helps lift revenue by an average of 13%. And now, with over 150,000 very happy customers already dominating their markets using Omnisend's email, SMS, and push notifications, plus they have 24/7 amazing support that actually responds fast and is very helpful, you're joining a winning team. So stop wrestling with writer's block and start letting AI do the heavy lifting for you. Visit omnisend.com and experience the future of marketing automation. Let them know that Jimmy and I sent you. And now back to the pod.
All right, quick recap. BFCM buyers are valuable, very valuable, and we really don't want them to disappear. So you follow up fast, you educate them, make a bridge offer, and you really ultimately need to nurture them long term. And we basically, in this pod, we talked about those like 5 campaigns: the welcome, the education, the cross sell, the treat yourself, the New Year's routine, right? And so that's really important. And the biggest mistake that brands can do is going silent. And last but not least, just to recap, make sure you're measuring repeat purchase rate, time to second purchase, flow conversion, LTV of that cohort and segment, and then, of course, your revenue per subscriber. So if you do all that right, it sounds like BFCM will be a great, profitable customer for not only 2025, but even into 2026 ultimately. So Very cool, Chase. Well, that's the end of the pod here, guys. Thanks for tuning into the post-BFCM survival. We hope that you enjoyed and you got something that you can add or implement into your strategy this year that you're doing. And of course, if you've enjoyed this podcast, as always, please like, subscribe, follow, leave us a rating on your favorite podcast listening platform. And look, there's a lot of ways to connect with us. They're all in the show notes below. You can follow the show on like every social media platform. But the last plug I'll kind of put here is that inbooks.ai is live. That's 1 million brands from the fastest growing, I think 10,000 plus brands, AI driven, searchable, contextual, swipe ready. This is a really cool little platform we've launched. We've got hundreds of people already in it and piling in. So go check us out. I know you probably heard a commercial inside of it, but I wanted to give you one more plug.
From the open to the click, they're the masters of the flow. Just watch your list grow and your leads turn to gold. Did we retain you so far, or do we have to extend it? If you want results, you know you gotta send it. Yeah, you know you gotta send it. Yeah, you know you gotta send it. Yeah, you know you gotta send it.